What is cracking, guys? JP here again, bringing you another update of my 90-gallon reef tank. So it's been 3 or 4 weeks since I did my last update after I did a massive water change. Everything was doing pretty well until a couple weeks later. I have a little alkalinity drop. What happened is my alkalinity reactor or Avast K1 cockstar started leaking, the big one, the K2, and I put it in the K1 and that leaked too. So that's in out of service right now, but I finally fixed the K2, put it in. But in the meanwhile, in that 2 week period, my alkalinity dropped about 2 dkh, and I'm guessing the pH also dropped. So that kicked one of my coral down the bucket. Well, it was already in the bucket. The coral I'm speaking of is the Walt Disney. Now, the coral right now is different because I replaced it. That coral, I got it for $20 a couple of years ago from a frag swap. It was just a little nub, a Walt Disney nub, and it started growing for a good year or so, and it stopped growing 6 months ago, and it's slowly tissue receding already, so it was already slowly dying out. There was no parasite, no problems. I think my alkalinity was just not stable, or my temperature wasn't too stable for it to handle it. So nothing too crazy. I wanted to have a different coral here anyway, to have a different color. So I put in my blue tenuous. Now this is another tenuous like the Walt Disney, but it got this blue tips. But right now it's not happy because I just moved it and it was in a different location. So hopefully the next 6 months and 1 year it will like this area. My purple bonsai is encrusting on the side quickly, so that's good. I moved my green slimer forward. This coral has been neglected pretty bad because I don't have any space, and finally today I moved it to the middle of the real estate, the perfect real estate, so hopefully it will grow quick on recovery. So we'll see. As you can see, there's some STN or tissue recession from neglecting the coral, but it's very, very hardy. Can't believe it's still alive. So hopefully it will grow back. And polyps are out, they're happy. So we'll see in the next 6 months. I also accidentally fragged my WWC yellow tips right there. You can see the white little circle. I put the little frag right there. My Hawkins Echinata, despite all the swings and changes, is growing bonkers. You can see all the new tips. I'm surprised this coral is growing bonkers. Pretty cool coral though. My Fox Flame is unfazed with all the changes. It's actually even growing more on the side right here, all around. It's growing more tips, so that's good. I need to frag some of these coral right here, the mint pavona. Remember the STN or tissue recession? You can see there's new tips growing back to it, or recovering the white area, which is a good sign. So that's good. Crazy. All right. My Pusillipora still right here. It started to grow. I think this is a pink Pusillipora. It's a straggler. It's one of those little, polyp colonized somewhere else. So my pink Stylophora. I don't know why that happened. There's a weird tissue recession right there. Maybe from the light shading. Milka Stylus doing pretty well. And everything else is doing pretty well. My purple Valida, you can kind of see some of the tissue recession where it's white right there, which is weird. But everything is growing really quick. Everything's growing well and quick. So There's no parasite, no flatworm, no red bugs. It's just some weird bacterial issue. But yeah, it's outpacing the tissue recession by a mile. So this is a coral that I accidentally frag right here, and they started to fuse in a couple areas. So crazy. My LPS area is doing pretty well. Hammer is pretty huge. It's the size of my head now. Purple and green hammer. I got my gold hammer here. It's a little bit deflated because I changed the flow. We'll talk about that later. My torches are finally perking up, especially with the gold torch. So that's a good sign. It's not as gold, but it's more inflated and more happy now. Ever since I moved it and changed the flow. So green torch is doing pretty well. Every LPS is doing pretty good. So yeah, this guy is a huge. Can't really see. But it's almost 1/2 size of my hand. So that's pretty huge. All right, Montipora wise, you can see the new growth rings. That's a good sign after the water change. And I've been dosing about 200 ml of magnesium once a week because before it was just, the magnesium slowly came down to like 1,000 and the Montipora just stopped growing. So that's how I knew the magnesium was low, low, low. But yeah, everything's doing pretty well. Zoanthid, some of the zoas start to have that weird melting again because of the alkalinity drop, and I shoot it back up. So this usually happens. So I know now why they do that. So crazy. I gotta watch for my alkalinity drop in rice one day. All right, onto the flow. I changed my flow. I used to have 2 hydrocoralia on each side. Now I have the Ciche Extreme. I think this is the highest one. And I have them on and off opposite. So this one will turn on for 6 minutes. Then this is off. When it's going to switch, this one will be on for 6 minutes. And this one is going to be off. So it kind of changes the flow. Right now, the hydrocoralia is on. You can see it's kicking up. And it seems to kind of move the flow more gentler on this side, while it's more turbulent right here. When this first switch, the flow really turbulent on its way. So, which is a good thing for the corals because you can see the flow will flow this way, and then when it switches, flows this way. So it kind of have that weird, not rocking because it's every 6 minutes. So changes the flow up, and the coral seems to like it, especially the LPS, because it's not so crazy all the time every day. So it's kind of oscillating. So that's a good thing. So yeah, pretty good. Down here, here's the Kalkwasser finally back on. I glued the outside and glued the inside. And that helped the leak. So now this is connected with my ATO, and we'll pump in with the ATO instead of a timer. Clean my skimmer. Everything is doing pretty well. I started dosing some iron and some replenish. I'm kind of low on it too. So maybe someday. It just helped with the chaetomorpha and the algae. And then here's the magnesium that I've been dosing once a week. So pretty good. Ever since I also changed the flow, because before it was always on, the heat definitely has calmed down. Before my heat would be like 81, now it's like 77, so that's a good difference. And I also turned this off, my alkalinity and calcium, because my alkalinity was actually 10.9. That's with just Kalkwasser, and that's from the 9.9. So yeah, we'll see. So I'm just running all Kalkwasser right now, and there's nothing else, no 2-part anymore, just the magnesium part. All right, and there you go. It switched the flow. You can kind of see. There you go. Now there's looks like the flow is switching up to the left side now. There you go. So yeah, pretty good, I would say. It kind of kicks some bubbles when it first turns on, but that's okay because it kind of does some little scrubbing too, or bubble scrubbing a little bit. But it's only the first minute or so. So yeah, pretty good. And I'm getting a lot of flow. I'm getting some polyp extension on my Fox Flame, so that's good. One thing I do recognize is back then I used to dose or feed reefroids with the torches, and that seems to help with the phosphate and the particulates for the coral. So I'm gonna start doing some reefroids once a week. Yesterday actually did some reefroid, and these hammer and torches really liked it. So I think that's one of my success too, because this tank is chronically low in phosphate because of all the algae and, you know, Chaetomorpha reactor, and the coral seems to be a little deprived with phosphate. So in the reef, I heard someone talk about, fish goes by the reef and they poop above the corals, and the corals eats the particulates, and it's full with phosphate. So I'm gonna try to replicate that with reefroids while doing water changes too, because that seems to be my past experience. Feed a lot reefroids, mysis shrimp, and then do a water change once a week. So, and that was very successful. I grown 6 heads of torch to 100 plus of heads in just 4 years. So that's kind of crazy how fast they grew. This torch right here. So right now, there's pretty good heads right now. So it's getting there. Was it 2, 4, 6, 8, 10? Was it 10? 10 heads? 12 heads? From 1 head in 1 year. So this is a, a pretty fast grower. So that's good. And after this will exponentially grow again. So hopefully in the next six months to 1 year, it'll be 24 to 30 heads. So can you imagine that? Crazy. So yeah, reefroids, water change, just good husbandry. Make sure you have some fish for the ammonia for the corals. So yeah. Well, that's it basically for the update. Thanks for watching. Happy reef keeping. Adios.